Sun. Have to watch out if you sneeze, you sneeze. Have to watch out if you sneeze. Oh, you have to watch out if you sneeze. 'Cause swinging up there in the breeze. If you happen to cough, you might very well fall off. Tumble down, flop on your knees, your knees. Tumble down, flop on your knees. And when the stormy winds wail and the breezes blow up in a gale, there's all such a flopping and popping and bumping that little babies just hail, just hail. That little babies. You did, Susan. From where? From my website? I didn't get an alert about it. Or from Amazon. First time reading it aloud with a live audience, you know? Kind of cool. Something different, right? True. My voice is drowned out by the coffee maker. I was just saying hi, so luckily it wasn't too important yet. Read your lips, thank you. Oh, look at you, fancy. Susan say, I didn't hear what you said. I didn't get a notification. Yeah, so I didn't get a notification that there was an order placed at all, but I'll take care of it today because good news is I have some in stock. with this reading situation. Okay, let's sit down. Let's put our coffee over here. Let's put you guys on the tripod. Right here. All right, here we go. Okay, so because this is kind of a unique situation where I mean, like, usually you don't have an author with you. It is peak, yeah. You don't usually have an author with you the whole time that you're reading a book. So I'm gonna open the floor to questions at any time, because I think that that's just, like, I don't know, a cool way for us to do this, especially because most of the people in book club have already read my book. So it's more like hearing the way that I think that they sound, and then you guys getting to ask questions. So if anyone has any questions before we read, feel free to ask them now, and then you can stop me chapter by chapter if you feel so inclined as well. But I wanted to open the floor to questions before we start, to see if anyone has any questions about the book, because maybe you do. I don't know, maybe you don't. Maybe you won't have any questions until we start reading. You have toothpaste on your face. Morning, Stephanie. We're about to start reading. It's very exciting to have you. In case anyone who is scrolling by is new to book club, I wrote this book and we're gonna read it. So that's kind of cool. Something different and exciting, I think, anyway. So if no one has any questions, we can jump right in to reading, and we'll see how you guys feel about it, right? You know, that's it. All right, let's read. So the book, oops, well, my Kindle decided to turn off. Let's wake it back up. Maybe I'll actually finish it this time. That would be great. That would be great. Come on, thing, what are you doing here? Okay, you might have been filtered, Amanda. That's my first thing I'm seeing from you. Did you have a question? Is that why? If you had a question, I can wait. I just wanted to note that it's pretty funny that, I don't know if you guys have looked where it says the copyright. It says copyright for the book to me, copyright for the cover art to Secret Boyfriend. Because he proposed to me right before the book was published, but after I wrote this page. So he became Secret Fiance, and then shortly after Secret Husband before this. I'll put it in the chat because it's not working. Okay, no worries. We can always answer a question later. So anyway, the book is legit, and you know, there's a lot of stuff going on right now about AI art, and I've had people, yes, he's Secret Husband and people dad, Secret Dad now. I've had people ask me if the cover art for my book is AI, which I think is crazy, because if you look at it, there's no way AI could do what he did. But no, I watched my husband hand draw this on his tablet. He has a little tablet that has like a pencil or pen or whatever, and he drew every inch of this cover. I was the model for the female character, he was the model for the male character, and we took pictures of ourselves, and he put us into a thing, and then he used our body shapes for the characters, and then I showed him pictures of the place where I wanted it to take place, and he turned that place into cartoon art, if you want to call it that, for the setting. So it is based on a real place, and he did draw it based on a real place. But like, if you look closely, there are Easter eggs all throughout the, yeah, there's a lot of details in it. I don't think AI could do that. Like, if you look, there's one pink umbrella in like a sea of sad umbrellas. That's a story point. Like, it's a thing that happens in the story, that pink umbrella. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I feel like AI can't do what he can do. But that's just me. Maybe I'm just biased. I just don't think AI can do it. Anyway, no AI was used in the making of this book or the cover, I guess is the point here, because we don't do that. The pink umbrella is such a sweet moment, I know. I don't even know how I came up with that, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, let's get going. So I'm gonna read you
Let's see, his art is so superior. Or do that so well, AI would add weird shoe. They would add like a weird shoe, it's true. Dedication. To secret boyfriend, for being my prince and wanting me to follow my dreams, and for bringing my characters and ideas to life with your gorgeous artwork every time I ask, and even sometimes when I don't. And to the most dedicated group I've ever known, my book club. Oops, why am I not using my glasses? This is crazy. Listen to this book club dedication and how much we've grown since then. We're over a year strong, and holy crap, this novel couldn't have happened without you. Your support means everything to you, and I hope you love this like you love the Land of Stories. Thank you for letting me be your reader, and I hope you'll continue to let me do so. Special thanks to Cindy Ridgway and Ali Ross for their editing work. Guys, we're almost at 3 years. When I wrote this, we were barely just at 1 year. Now we're at 3 years of this book club. Freaking wild, right? Kind of amazing. The Proclamation. In the name of Queen Victoria, by the grace of God, sovereign ruler of the United Kingdom, defender of the faith, and protector of the realm, whereas the Kingdom of Whitelock Isles has emerged as a free and sovereign entity, having pursued its rightful path of self-determination and independence. I know, isn't that funny, Jen? And whereas the ties of friendship, kinship, and shared history bind the United Kingdom and the Whitelock Isles, now, therefore, in recognition of this new dawn and as a symbol of this enduring friendship and goodwill, we, Queen Victoria, do hereby decree that the parcel of land known as Astoria, Oregon, situated in the northern province on the western coast of what is now known as the United States of America, shall be gifted in perpetuity to the Whitelock Isles, King Alfred James Grafton Windermere I, and all of his dependents thereafter. This land shall serve as a testament to our shared history, a place of unity and collaboration, and a beacon of hope for future generations. The Whitelock Isles shall have full sovereignty over said land, with all rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereof. This decree shall come into effect immediately upon this proclamation, and shall be irrevocable. Given under our hand, and the Great Seal of the United Kingdom at our palace in London on this, the 5th day of May, in the year of our Lord, 1845. Chapter 1. The Flight to Oregon. Thank you all for flying with us today. The sooner all the passengers take their seats, the sooner we can get wheels up and touch down in Oregon. The voice came over the sound system and gave off the distinct air of being annoyed while forced to pretend to be cheerful. Edward looked up from his first-class window seat and saw a rotund gentleman in a green and yellow baseball cap checking the number on his ticket against the seat on the aisle. 3C, well, I'll be, he smiled and then chuckled to himself and settled into the seat. First time in first class. Never sat in an airplane seat so comfy. Indeed. Edward nodded at him, not really keen to start a conversation this early in a flight so long. Donnelly. The man reached his hand across by way of introduction. Mike Donnelly. Friends call me Mikey, though. I see. Edward narrowed his eyes, unsure of where to go from here, but he took the man's hand to shake it regardless. Edward. Pleasure. Of course, being bothered wasn't a pleasure, but he wasn't about to start the next 12 hours of his life off on the wrong foot. Mikey pulled off his cap and rubbed what was left of his hair. You know, I'm just thrilled to have made a non-stop flight happen. The man was grasping for straws, just looking for something to discuss. Edward was taken aback. I made the non-stop flight happen. On the way here, I had 2 separate stops. What a hassle. I half expected to be stuck in Atlanta and then Seattle, but getting to go straight to Portland will take a load off my rear end, that is for darn tootin'. I don't fly with stops, Edward continued. Frankly, I'm not sure I know anyone who does. Pfft, Mr. Donnelly let out a breathy laugh. What are you, like a king or something? Prince, actually, Edward replied. I thought those guys all had private planes. Misconception, common. Edward was eager to correct. Often we charter, but my father is in, well, Edward rolled his eyes, a mood, if you will. Never too quick on the uptake, Mikey Donnelly stared at the man next to him for another moment, narrowing his eyes as he tried to parse together what Edward wasn't saying clearly. Your father is a prince? King, actually. Mikey just laughed. Oh, I get it. You're pulling my leg. He slapped Edward's leg just as the flight attendant came around to check on the first-class passengers prior to takeoff. Excuse me, sir, may I offer you a welcome drink and a hot towel? The young lady eyed Edward and smiled. Free booze? Wow, this just keeps getting better. Huh, am I getting drinks because I'm in first class or because I'm sitting here with a prince? The man laughed, showing that he was in on the joke, and didn't for one second believe that the man sitting next to him was a prince. I'll have Bloody Mary if you're still offering, and my friend Eddie here. Can I call you Eddie? He turned toward Edward, who looked frustrated. No, you may not. It's Edward, and I assure you I am certainly not pulling your leg. I'm going to need a Scotch whiskey to get me through this. That last part was said to the attendant, and yes, that towel would be smashing, thank you. But rather than reach for it, he waited for her to reach over Mikey and hand it to him. Once she made their drinks and continued down the aisle, Mikey, who was now nervous, felt ashamed for having been reprimanded and decided to break the silence. Sorry if I offended you. Guys, Cindy's here. Cindy was one of my editors on this book. She was one of the first people ever to read this. How amazing that she's here to hear me read it aloud. And Addie's here. Hi, Addie. How are you guys? Oh, it's good to have you. It's quite all right. Edward sighed, feeling bad for the snap. I don't fancy being called Eddie, occupational hazard of having grown up with two older brothers who coupled the nickname with many, well, off-colored pranks. Ah, Mikey smiled again, showing that he understood by offering his own family tree. I'm the fourth of 4 boys here. Fourth also, Edward softened, but luckily I have one older sister who occasionally lessened the blow. Now that the two men seemed to have mended the fence, Mikey tried again. So say, what's bringing you to Oregon anyway? We don't get many with your fancy pants accent around my neck of the woods, although I suppose Portland probably sees, but Edward cut him off, and not impolitely. Astoria is my final destination, actually. Have you been there? Been? Mikey looked thrilled. What? I lived there! A sparkle shined in Edward's eyes. In Astoria? You're darn tootin'. Born and raised. Been over in Ireland and Scotland for a few days to visit my daughter who's studying abroad. Her mother told me that if I didn't go see that girl and do research on our Irish relatives while we had the chance that she'd... Wait a minute. What's a guy like you doing coming out to the coast anyway? He paused his own story, too confused by the juxtaposition of this man who was sitting next to him so well dressed with a British accent, apparently a prince, also headed to Astoria? Well, I own it. Mikey spit his drink all over the seat in front of him, laughing. All right, now I know you've been screwing with me, buddy. Edward jumped to pull away from the splash zone and wiped his untouched sleeve. I'm most certainly not screwing with you. The words dripped from Edward's lips. My father, he sighed, relaxing a bit. I suppose I've misled you slightly because I don't actually own it. My father owns it, but he did offer it to me. I won't bore you with the gory details of my life and what's brought me to this low point, but I am coming to take control of our property. Lips pursed, Mikey nodded along, trying to hide his confusion. Your father owns Astoria, but he isn't the President of the United States? My father, Alfred James Grafton Windermere II, is the King of the Whitelock Isles. He owns Astoria, Oregon, not the United States of America, and certainly not your president, who, by the way of not being a monarch, doesn't own anything in your country save for personal land he may have acquired prior to taking his post. Did this man know nothing of his own country's civics? Edward continued. Furthermore, I've heard that the gentleman in charge has been doing a piss-poor job, and my father has been putting me in charge of overhauling the place and thus making it a profitable property for our family through future generations. How in the... Yes, I know, it will be quite a lot of work, but I've assured my parents that I am indeed up for the challenge. Once we touch down in Portland, I'll charter a ride to Astoria and... Oh, you need a ride to Astoria? Hey, Brittany. All right, I'm going to take a sip between chapters. That was chapter 1. We have met 2 of our main characters, or 1 main and 1 side character. So now that we've started... Oh, So now you know Edward and you know Mikey. Chapter 2, City Council Meeting, October 17th, 2024. Emma. Those are all the action items for today's meeting, so unless any members of the community... Excuse me, I raised my hand. With a sigh that showed his apparent disdain for me, Mayor Vernon Keating pointed his plastic gavel in my direction. Yes, Miss Prescott. Yes, hello. I gathered the papers in my arms and I moved toward the microphone. Before the meeting concludes, I would like to request once again that the council move forward with the requested repairs to Pier 25. Miss Prescott, the man rubbed his thumb and forefinger over the bridge of his nose with the deepest of sighs. As we have told you before... No. I couldn't help myself. I cut him off. No one was surprised. This conversation had been repeating week after week for the last 6 months when I decided to take matters into my own hands. Pier 25 is a cultural landmark and a bustling business center important to the past and future of historians and the tourists who provide the majority of our town's income. The structural damages to the posts alone are dangerous, and if we do not... Miss Prescott... He raised his voice, causing me to stop and shrink back slightly. The council has determined at this time the town does not possess the funds to not only repair the structural damage to the pier, but also to do so in a manner timely enough to ensure that the businesses that occupy the pier will not go broke during construction. Are you planning to use the income from your little bookshop wine bar to bankroll the months of lost income for not only your father's business, but his neighbors as well? A beat passed. I could feel the eyes of the mere 4 people who had shown up to watch the city council meeting in person boring into the back of my neck. I swallowed the lump in my throat, steeling myself to stand firm and continue to speak. Mayor Keating, I do not believe that minimizing the importance of fixing not only Pier 25 but many other cultural points in Astoria is in the council's best interest. I've spoken to many of your constituents and... Is that a threat, Miss Prescott? He raised an eyebrow, gazing directly at me, daring me to defy him in front of the other historians and the council sitting behind the raised table. Well, I thought momentarily, maybe it is. I mean, I don't mean threat in the physical sense, no. I added quickly to cover my behind. But as you know, I'm currently running to unseat your co-council member, Mr. Bell, in the 3rd District, and should I be successful in my venture, then I will have access to all the council records, and I will be required to fall in line with the wishes of what will then be my constituents. And I stuttered, cursing myself mentally for not being able to speak extemporaneously without tripping over my words here. Well, maybe I'll run for mayor. Maybe it's time that this town step into the 21st century and stop acting like we're backwards, old remnants of the Oregon Trail. The mayor chuckled softly. Emma. He paused to correct himself. Miss Prescott, you know as well as I do that the people of the 3rd District have no interest in overturning the status quo. As a matter of fact, the people of Astoria at large have no interest in changing the way things are. We're a happy people with a good life. I'm sorry that you don't see it that way. But it's dangerous to... He cut me off again. Miss Prescott, we have had multiple assessments done by the County Public Works Department, who have assured us that there is nothing to be concerned about and no one is at risk. That includes your father's fish market. Poor Emma. Poor Emma. I haven't read this in entirety in such a long time. It's actually funny to me because I forgot some of the things that I wrote because it's been so long. So I'm like, oh, I forgot I said that. So now you know the 2 main characters and some side characters. Chapter 3, The Driftwood Inn and Suites. Edward. Well, here you are. Mikey pulled his beat-up old truck out in front of the Driftwood Inn and Suites. The prince sitting in the front seat could tell that this fatherly man beside him wasn't ashamed of the state of his vehicle. Odd. Edward's eyes scanned the weather-worn building. It's smaller than I imagined. That was the nicest way that he could describe the lodgings before him. It was nothing like the 5-star hotels he was accustomed to. With a swallow, he placed his hand on the door handle. Thank you, Mikey, for your hospitality. I shall take my leave now, and surely I'll see you again, given the size of the... Do you have any inside jokes that you put in for yourself and those close to you? Yes, I do. And you, since you know me pretty well now, you might recognize some as we go through it. But as I get to them, I'll let you know. Oh, no, you don't. Mikey hopped quickly from the driver's side and ran around to open the door for Edward. It stuck for a moment, causing the man to fight with the handle before it made a popping sound and finally opened. Your Majesty. He added a bow as he motioned for Edward to step from the truck, one arm behind his back as though he were maybe a butler in Downton Abbey or the like. Other than state dinners he had attended as a child with foreign dignitaries, Edward wasn't sure he could ever recall a time when someone had bowed to him. Surprised, but also slightly pleased, Edward hopped out of the truck. "Well, thank you, my good man. To what do I owe this?" He didn't even know what to call Mikey's change in demeanor. "You are aware that your majesty is generally reserved for," but his voice trailed off. Why should he bother correcting this man? Hey, Tamra. Guys, this is my friend Tamra, and she doesn't read much, but she's actually read my book, which is kind of amazing. Oh, you heard the word Tamra, and you woke up to say hi to Auntie Tamra? Yeah? Yeah, is that what you did? You woke up to say hi to Auntie Tamra? You heard her name? Yeah? Do you want to go in your chair? You want to go back to sleep? Okay. No? You don't want to go back to sleep? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Do you want to play? You're just waking up slow? You're blinking so slow. She is so big now. Can you guys believe she's almost a year old? We booked her birthday party location yesterday. Her first birthday's coming up. We wanted to have some place that was baby-proofed for all the babies. Okay. You want to go in your chair? Whee! You definitely have toothpaste on your face, my angel. Yeah. No, it's not possible. Somehow it is. Somehow it is. Okay. Should we go back to reading Mommy's book? Mommy wrote this book before you were born, before you were even in her tummy. Long time. Feels like a long time ago. I know. On Christmas Day, she'll be 11 months, you guys. Isn't that crazy? Right? Will you be 11 months old on Christmas Day? She went like this. She went. Okay, sorry. Where were we? You know what? Never mind that. He offered a wide grin. I do so appreciate your services. Should you need anything at all, you just call me or my wife, Maureen. We're at your service, Your Highness. And he bowed again. If you need a ride, don't you be bothering with a cab. We got 2 cars between us and here to make your transition to life in Astoria that much easier. Besides, the cab companies in this town, he waved a hand like he was swatting at a fly. Well, let's just say you're better off with me. Certainly, yes. Well, I'm sure you're just as tired as I am after our jump over the pond. I could use a solid night's sleep, but could you tell me where one might find a good cup of tea and breakfast in the morning? I know I certainly will be famished upon waking. I'm all but certain that Moonbeam Mug serves tea, but of course it does have the best breakfast in town. My blushing bride of 25 years, Maureen, she works the counter in there first half of the day, so say no more. I'll pick you up here for breakfast in the morning and we'll make sure that you get a proper Astorian welcome. Well then, Edward was delighted with how things had been going so far. It seemed they'd continue down this yellow brick road. That does sound lovely. I'll see you then. Continued. Chapter 3 continued, still from Edward's perspective. Mikey returns. The next morning, Mikey Donnelly arrived at the Driftwood Inn and Suites promptly at 7:30, wearing his only suit. Granted, it was a little tight around the middle, a holdover from his oldest daughter's wedding 6 years ago, but it sure did make him feel dapper. When he entered the hotel, he was greeted by a young man in his early 20s who looked like he could barely keep his eyes open. Welcome to the Driftwood. How can we make sure that your stay is... Look alive, boy! Mikey smacked his hand on the counter with a laugh. Don't you go falling asleep on the job, or you might not have a job when you wake up. The older man found himself hilarious. The younger man behind the counter wasn't as amused. Either that or he didn't understand the joke. Maybe both. Sorry, sir, the front desk clerk apologized, quickly typing the password in to unlock his computer. Are you checking in? He eyed the ill-fitting suit that Mikey was sporting, but opted not to ask about it. A nap would be more useful than further conversation with this man. You're welcome for the yawn, yeah. Well, I mean, it's written in that he yawns, so I had to do it. At least in his eyes. If he could get the guy checked in quickly, then he could go back to dozing off. I'm looking for Prince Edward. He's staying here in this hotel. Mikey added a nod for good measure, making himself look confident and serious, at least in his own eyes. Mikey watched as the young man narrowed his eyes, confusion causing his brain to glitch out from the combination of being overtired and hearing the word prince outside of a fairy tale. Huh? He said. Prince Edward, Mikey said slowly, is staying in this hotel. An eyebrow raised on the boy's face. Now you're getting it. Can I have his room number, please? Sir, are you trying to tell me there's a prince staying here? He started to type away on the keyboard. Nothing listed under prince, so maybe you got the wrong locale. Can you check under the last name Windermere? More typing, and then he shook his head again. Nope. Grafton? Mikey tried. The kid nodded. Yep, room 403. If Mikey had thought about this for even a moment, he might have been concerned that anyone could just walk in, give the Prince of Whitelock's room number without even proof that he knew him, let alone permission to see him. But no, that thought didn't cross his mind. Instead, he just gave a thumbs up to the boy and said, "Can you ring up ahead and let him know that I'm coming and to unlock the door?" Without waiting to see if that would be done, Mikey made his way to the elevator down the hall and up to the 4th floor. The elevator gave a quiet ding when the doors opened and let him out on the hotel's top floor. Moments later, Mikey was knocking on room 403. Nothing. He knocked again. Once more. And then a 4th time. As he raised his hand one last time, fear hit his heart for his new friend. The door opened as he raised his hand one last time, fear in his heart for his new friend, the door opened beneath his fist. "Oh, Your Majesty, thank goodness. I was worried that you weren't answering and maybe that's something..." Mikey. Edward rubbed his face, struggling at first to remember the man's chosen nickname as he looked him through one eye, the light of the hallway stinging something fierce. "What the devil are you doing here at this hour?" Mikey was confused. Didn't you say that you'd be liking a ride to breakfast in the morning?" Edward searched his memory. "That's not exactly what I said, but certainly you can't mean for us to eat right now. It's not even 8 o'clock in the morning." "With all due respect, Your Highness, considering you're not even dressed, by the time we get down to the cafe, it'll be well past 8 in the morning rush. Well, don't you want to make sure that you get the best they got to offer before it all sells out?" The idea of breakfast selling out was a new one to Edward. He yawned into his palm, brow furrowing as he thought about the kind of places that might run out of breakfast food. Mikey knew in his heart that there was no way they'd sell out. The cafe his wife Maureen worked at used to be a bustling stop on the way to work for many, but it was the perfect breakfast nook for tourists and passers-by alike. But in recent years, their customer base had slowed considerably. People started making their coffee at home to save money, and tourists found elsewhere for their morning pick-me-up. Moonbeam Mugs, you see, was near the edge of Pier 25, which no longer looked like a welcoming location. She did think that was funny. You always get breakfast, huh?" "Yeah." She said, "Yeah." "Well, yes, of course." Edward looked at Mikey through narrowed eyes. "Mikey, how did you know what room I was in?" As Edward's brain began to awaken, the wheels started turning just enough to make him curious about the safety of his lodgings. Mikey shrugged. "Front desk came downstairs, told me." "Good Lord," Edward shook his head. "We'll have to do something about security in this place. What if some bad actor looking to take over comes in the night to send me to sleep with the fishes?" "Well, can't you just swim?" Mikey asked. Edward hoped beyond hope that Mikey was making a joke and forced out a laugh. "No, of course, my good fellow. Now," a yawn came without warning. "Oh, all right, fine. You've convinced me. I'll get dressed and try out this cafe belonging to your wife." "Well, no, it sure don't belong to Maureen," Mikey corrected. "But they will be glad to see you. I'm sure once people hear a prince is eating there, well, they'll come back to dine in droves." Maybe. I don't know. She said, "Selling out, that's never happened. I got breakfast stocked up." "Aw, baby E loves hearing your voice. She said you sound so nice and she wants to be your friend." When you girls are big girls, the age gap will mean nothing. All right. How are you guys feeling so far? Any questions while you have the author? This is a unique experience. Yeah. Reading my book aloud while people are here in real time. I've never done this before. It's very interesting. I've read these chapters aloud when I was recording them, but never with yeah, that age gap is non-existent when they're little. Yeah, I mean, they're like 8 months apart or 9 months apart. Love it more with the voices. Oh, you're so welcome. I just, if anyone ever has any questions, always feel free to ask. It's lovely to hear this again. It's been a while since I read it. Yes. Yes, it has been, because she was one of the first people who read it before you were born. Before you were born, she read it. I love that you think it's better live since you were literally one of the first people who read it. All right, shall we read chapter 17? This is a longer chapter, so this might take us to the end. I know those chapters were shorter. I wrote the chapters, that's really funny, Sunny. For anyone who doesn't know, I wrote the chapters to look like scenes in, it says 17 minutes, yeah, that's what it says. But I don't know if it'll actually take me 17 minutes to read it. So the chapters are structured the way they are because I was envisioning them like as if this were a Hallmark movie, what scenes would look like and when the like cuts between scenes would be. So that's kind of how, that's why like sometimes it ends on like the middle of a sentence, because sometimes when you're watching a movie, a scene ends that way. You know what I mean? Like that's just how they do it. So that's how I structured it, like scene by scene. I don't know why, I just did. I don't have a reason behind that, but there we are, no less. All right, chapter 4 is called Moonbeam Mugs, and this is from Emma's perspective. Are you ready, honey? Are you ready to read? I wasn't sure about the formatting at first, but it absolutely made sense for this book. Yeah, I had another friend who was helping edit, and she was like, why is one part of it in first person and one part of it in third person? And I got that structure from Meg Cabot, actually, and I really liked it when she did it, so I wanted to try it, and I like it. So, yeah. I agree. A lot of people, especially neurospicy people, find the chapters the way that I wrote them to be helpful. So, you know. Hi, baby. Hi. Hi. Ah. Do you want to read this chapter? Whee! Whee! Can you get this one? Can you get this tape off? Can you get the tape off? Yeah. What's wrong, baby? You need a snack? Do you want a snack? I can get you a snack. That's fine. Let's get a snack. You want some mango vanilla? Mango vanilla. Where'd they go? Where do you think they went? That's weird. Well, here, you can have some of these because I don't know where the... Oh, there they are. Well, here. I'll open this anyway. How's that? These look like they're going to be yummy. Oh, wow. Yeah, check this out. You're never going to believe what I have. This is mango, coconut, and carrot. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Look at this. There you go, my angel. What do you think of that? You want to try those? They look pretty good. All right. Why did it turn off? I was gone too long. Come on, just give me this page. All right, sorry about that. We are on chapter 4. Chapter 4 is called Moonbeam Mugs. The rain might have stopped a lesser woman, but not this Oregonian. Just like I had for weeks on end now, I pulled on my rain boots, I shoved a beanie down over the massive curls atop my head, and I headed out to flyer for city council. If I learned one thing since I decided to run for city council, it's that people's minds aren't easily changed. As you'd think that it's my own book that I could read it. You'd think that, right, honey? You'd be wrong. Astoria has had the same stodgy old boomers on the council since before I can remember, and people aren't easily persuaded. Worse than that, most people barely care to pay attention. Flyering by myself usually meant ended up with soaked socks, but it did win me a couple of supporters once they could see how serious I was about fixing the systemic issues plaguing our little port town. On mornings such as these, dreary, typical Astorian mornings, I like to head down to the center of town before opening my bookshop bar. I stood at the corner near Moonbeam Mugs, a popular cafe for locals, handing out flyers to encourage people to vote for me in the upcoming November election. Yeah, right? Gosh, it's a familiar feeling. Look, this is so yummy. Can you try it? Can you try this? What do you think? It's so yummy. Yeah, give it a try. Protect our pier, I said to one person who was walking who walked away without taking the now wet paper from my hand. Vote Emma Prescott into city council next month? Baby, what's wrong? No, I would never write from current events. I definitely don't write what I know. I definitely don't write what I know. You want to eat that? It's so yummy. Can you try it? You want something else? Do you want some more milkies? Do you want more milkies? Mommy can get you milkies. You want this? Yeah? You want to sit? Oh, so yummy. Can you hold it with 2 hands? Or are you going to make mommy hold it? You don't want to hold it with 2 hands? Okay, well, I guess the good news is I don't have to turn pages with an extra hand because it's a Kindle. Vote Emma Prescott into city council next month. It pained me to have to talk to so many people. Still, no one was going to get it done but me. That much had been made clear. Sure, sometimes friends would come out and help me, but not if it meant risking running mascara. Just as I stepped up to an elderly couple walking my way, I heard a familiar voice calling out to no one in particular, followed by, was that a kazoo? A high-pitched rang through the air. Make way for the prince! When I looked up, I saw none other than Mikey Donnelly, one of the fishermen who worked with my father, and he was blowing into the small end of a plastic kazoo. He was holding the door of Moonbeam Mugs open for someone in a suit. Prince... Huh? I took a few steps closer to the door, knowing that businesses didn't like anyone soliciting too close to where their customers entered. Not to mention that this wasn't a traditional soliciting, it was to save our freaking town. But anyway, still, I had to see what in the world this man was on about. Surely Maureen would look the other way for me this time. Make way for the prince, he called again. Mikey was holding a large golf-size umbrella over the top of someone that I had never seen before. Everyone in this tiny one-room cafe looked up. Please welcome to your esteemed establishment, Prince Edward Grafton Windermere III, Duke of Finsgate. What the... If you told me when I woke up this morning that I would see a prince getting coffee at Moonbeam Mugs, I would have pulled the covers back over my head and asked you why you were in my bedroom. But the well-dressed man with Mikey Donnelly did look like he could be a prince. I mean, I guess. How does one identify a prince in this day and age? It's not like they come with guards and a horse-drawn carriage any longer. Would one have a crown? Wait, no. None of the young royals on magazine covers or on social media wear crowns anymore, except occasionally Princess Kate. God, she's gorgeous. I blinked to push the thought from my mind, refocusing on the matter at hand. The man, frankly, looked like any other modestly attractive guy. He had medium brown hair, palish skin, not so pale that he looked sickly. He stood tall. Honestly, he did have really good posture. The sight of his perfect stance made me correct my own, and I pushed my shoulders back so I didn't look like Quasimodo. I took a few steps closer, and I was able to see how well tailored his suit was. Wow, he did look like Prince Harry when he went on press tours. Could this be legit? Once we were inside, and by we all, I mean not just me, I mean the prince and Mikey, and also the crowd that had formed outside upon hearing the kazoo. Mikey shooed away the 2 teenagers sitting in the coveted window booth seat. The kids looked at him like he was dumb as a box of rocks, but they did move for him. The prince, quote unquote, slid into the booth and waved at the gathering people, acting as though they were his subjects, or at least his fans. Thank you, thank you. Everyone but him was dripping from the rain. How had he managed to stay that dry? Ugh. I shook the droplets off of my body and watched the ongoing spectacle. Maureen! Mikey shouted towards his wife, who had just peeked out from behind the counter, wiping her hands on the apron she wore. Can we please get your famous double-whipped cappuccino for Prince Edward and a menu so that he may choose from the finest fare in our town? English breakfast tea with a dash of cream will be just fine, actually. Hold the sugar. I'm feeling a touch bloated after such a long flight. Funny, he didn't look bloated at all. Was this so yummy? Is this so yummy? You want more? You're all done? Okay, you can be all done. You can be all done with that milk. Yeah, you can be all done. You don't have to have any more. All done. That's okay. He did have the accent down. It sounded British, truthfully, which honestly made no sense. Why would the prince of somewhere like Finns whatever have a British accent? Hey, you're okay. Here, do you want this? Okay, you don't want that. Do we want something else? Okay, mommy will go get the mango vanilla now that I found it. You want me to get the mango vanilla? Mango vanilla. mango vanilla. Yummy. Mmm. Why would the Prince of Finn's wherever land have a British accent? Mango vanilla are your husband's favorite too. That's funny, Susan. He wasn't about to pretend that he was Prince William and Harry's long-lost illegitimate brother or something like that, was he? How rich. Maureen appeared at his table with a menu as well as both the coffee and the tea that had been ordered. She set them down with a bow. Anything we can do for your highness, please don't hesitate to ask. Now listen. I have known Maureen Donnelly my entire life. Not only has her husband always provided my father's fish market with wares, but she has been working the front counter at this cafe ever since her kids were old enough to go to school. I have seen her navigate scenarios ranging from yelling at hooligans who take too many sugar packets to bringing home-cooked meals to someone in town who just had surgery. But never, in all my 28 years, have I seen her bow to anyone, man or woman. Thank you kindly, Lady Donnelly. The prince, whose name I couldn't remember from Mikey shouting, smiled at her, holding the closed menu in his hand, not even bothering to open it. Would be so kind as to provide me with a plate of kippers, a side of baked beans with a grilled tomato, and perhaps a pain au chocolat. I'm truly famished after my journey. He said tomato in the most obnoxiously fancy way possible. Tomato. Eye roll. Well, my deepest and most sorrowful apologies and regrets, Your Highness, but, what is kippers? Mikey asked, his brow furrowed in confusion. Oh, of course. It's just a simple herring on toast. Herring on toast? With baked beans? What the heck kind of breakfast was that? What happened to bacon and eggs? A bagel with cream cheese? Even lox would make more sense. I half expected her to laugh him right out of town. Moonbeam Mugs had a strict no substitutions policy, and I don't ever remember seeing herring on the menu or baked beans. But, of course, your royal Prince Majesty. She curtsied this time, and then she leaned over to whisper something to her husband. Right! Mikey stood up a little straighter, smiled at the well-dressed man in the booth, and then boldly excused himself to everyone. The prince has requested a breakfast feast, including some of our local herring. You know how older people sound when they're talking to someone who doesn't speak English very well? They slow down considerably and they get louder every moment, as if they've met someone who's deaf and needs to read their lips. Yeah, that's how Mikey was addressing the crowd at large, myself among them. I will return from Prescott's Pacific shortly with enough for anyone who would like to join the prince in this uniquely Astorian experience. Anyone? Anyone? Uniquely Was this man out of his mind? Was he headed for my father's fish market to get herring for anyone in town to feast with a fake prince on a meal no local Astorian had even heard of in their life, let alone tasted? Mikey, I couldn't stay silent any longer. You want more? Oh, that was very good. That was very good. She pointed right at the bag. Very good, honey. Pointing to what you want. That's very good communication. Here's more. Right here. There you go. That was very good, my angel. Very good. Mikey, I couldn't keep my silence any longer. Dad doesn't even open the fish market for another 30 minutes, and then I lowered my voice for a whisper. Who is this guy? Emma! He looked surprised to see me there. This is Prince Edward. He's from the Whitelock Isles. I'm sure your father would gladly supply the Prince of Astoria with some fish for breakfast. I nearly choked on my spit. The Prince of Astoria? I repeated, astonished by such a claim. Is this some kind of a skit, Mikey? What? No. He's the prince. A fever dream caused by a gas leak, then, surely. Mikey didn't even flinch. Town mass hysteria? I crossed my arms over my chest, waiting for him to give me some kind of reaction. You'll have to excuse me, was all Mikey said to me at first. I've got to speak with your father about that herring. And then without so much as a half answer to any of my questions, Mikey was gone. Moonbeam Mugs. Edward's perspective. Look, it's right here. You have some right here. Mmm, yummy. The mango vanilla is right here. These are the mango vanilla. Yeah. Mikey Donnelly left Edward alone in the cafe. Well, if one can be considered alone with 50 strangers staring at them. Luckily for Edward, he had grown up with the masses. Really? Is that so? Uh-huh. Yeah? Do you want to eat this? Look at this. Hey, sweetheart, let's calm down for a second. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. Do you want this? Yeah, apparently she has thoughts about my writing. Jeez, everyone's a critic. Yeah, everyone's a critic, you guys. Oh, is that yummy Milkies? So yummy? Yeah, so yummy. Luckily for Edward, he had grown up with the masses watching his every move, making his... Uh-huh. Tell me more about that. You want to go ahead and tell us your thoughts before we continue? Yeah. Here, let's do one of these. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I even suggested it. I apologize. Okay, let's take a deep breath. La, 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 la. Let's take a deep breath. Okay. Very screamy. Very screamy. Let's get a different toy. We are clearly displeased. Okay, do you want your piggy and your rocket ship and the crinkle? Yeah. Piggy, rocket ship, and crinkle. Wow. Let's chew on Piggy's ear. Okay, off to Piggy land. I see. Okay. Is there anything I can do for you? Really? What are your thoughts? Go ahead. Tell us. Okay. Do we want to be a quiet girl so Mommy can finish this chapter? No, we don't want to be a quiet girl for Mommy? Do you want this crinkle? It's your favorite crinkle. It's from Aunt Catherine. I wish you guys could see it. She's going like this with the things in her hand. Is this what you're doing? Are you a little claw machine? Yeah, she does want freedom. You're right about that. Luckily for Edward, he had grown up with the masses watching his every move, making this turn of events reasonably normal for him. Back home, he couldn't even blink without getting a write-up in a local tabloid. Prince Edward sticks his tongue out in first family photo since King Alfred's heart surgery. Granted, he was 7 when that happened, but it seriously didn't go over well. He had never let up from there. Somehow, Edward had become the one that the tabloids focused on. I know, you don't like it either. When they looked for a negative royal story, his sister, Charlotte, was the debutante that everyone knew and loved. Yeah. And then there was Alexander, the heir and the most eligible bachelor in all of Whitelock until his now wife, Gabrielle, snatched him up. Yeah? Sweetheart, yes, let's use our inside voice. Can we say, la, 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 la. She's laughing. It's a beautiful toy, honey. It's your crinkle. Can you do that? How about instead of a screech, we go... It's funny how she's quiet when I'm not reading, right? She's totally quiet right now. Not reading. Quiet. Let's test this theory. Not Edward, though. He was the butt of royal jokes and the one dragged through the mud. Maybe he deserved some of it, sure, but they really put him through the ringer. La 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 la. I'm a scientist, Daddy. A scientist. Yeah, she doesn't like the reading voice. Right? She's definitely his baby, yeah. She wants to be the star, Mom. Yeah, for sure. Same way with kids in a Zoom meeting. I know. They're fine until the meeting starts. Honey. La 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 la. What about this? Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Oh, thank you for clapping for me, honey. Thank you for clapping for me, honey. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. How about this? Do you want to shake this bag? It's closed. Do you want to shake it? Go ahead, shake it. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Mango vanilla. Mango vanilla. You like that? You think that's funny? Yeah, shake away. You can't get in there. Because I don't think she knows how to open it. I guess we're about to find out, right? Not Edward, though. He was the butt of royal jokes and the one dragged through the mud. Sure, maybe he deserved some of it, but they really put him through the ringer. His parents had sent him away from Whitelock for school to get him out of the spotlight after he was caught egging his grandmother's castle at 13 in a misguided attempt to impress the other kids in the area. But years of schooling at the Côte d'Azur region of France had done little to remove him from the front cover of trash magazines. In fact, free access to the beaches in the south of France had only bolstered his playboy persona as he entered his late teen years, a persona that followed him through college. With an allowance that took him around the world for spring break and beyond, he found himself in trouble again, caught with a few too many girls on his father's yacht. Right, yeah, famous last words. That conduct was what had brought him to this pint-sized cafe on the northernmost coast of Oregon. His bad behavior, as his mother liked to call it, years of ending up in scandals when his brothers and sisters were attending charity events and helping the people of Whitelock, landed him in hot water. Do you have a water mat? Yeah, but she hasn't been interested in it since she could sit up. She liked it when it was tummy time. She hasn't been interested since then. You have to straighten up your life, his father had said sternly from the bow of his yacht. What's wrong with my life? No other 30-year-old's parents would be giving them grief over being seen with a few non-royals at a beach party when King Wong was out elephant hunting. Edward didn't usually raise his voice in general, let alone at his parents, but they were acting like he killed someone rather than gotten a little too drunk and been photographed with a few buttons loose on his shirt. Other 30-year-olds would have a job. His mother looked up from feeding her newest grandchild. The infant cooed lovingly. A wife, children even. Children, always children. This woman had 7 grandchildren already, and that never stopped her from pushing for more. Or at least do something for the betterment of the kingdom. As your brothers have, you've got to participate. Really? Really? Is that so? Yeah. Tell me more about that. Uh-huh. Na, 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 na. Yeah. Even England makes the young royals work for their paycheck, if you can call those outings work. His father could have been confused for any other millionaire in the Riviera. Gold rings on his thick fingers, a strong drink in his hand with a single outrageously sized ice cube in the middle, and his skin that was just a far bit too tan for his natural complexion as he laid out, worshipping the sun some more. Emma. Emma. Really? I see you rubbing your eyes. Perhaps you should have napped longer. Yeah, it's Chatty Friday for sure. Yeah. Sweetheart. Oh my, it's so loud. It's so loud, baby. Can we work on our soft voice? La 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 la. La la la. You want Dada? Dada's trying to sleep, I assume. You're mad that he's trying to sleep? Okay, we'll be all done for today then. How about that? We'll be all done and we'll read more tomorrow. Okay. She said all done. She said all done. You want to be all done? Yeah, okay. Say bye-bye, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, okay? Yeah? Tomorrow we're going to sleep so we can read? Yeah. Okay. All right. Bye, everybody.